Hello, everyone. I had prepared something to share with you before I knew the theme of this weekend would be the mysteries. So I have another thought I just want to drop on you quickly. How many of you like mystery novels? Mystery TV shows and movies, whodunits, that kind of thing. It's like we want to work out the puzzle. We want to keep reading until we come to the end. And most of us have learned that the mystery is going to be solved before the end of the hour, by the end of the book. There's a conclusion, and then it's over. But think about it. How do you feel when it's over? Maybe you're satisfied. Maybe you got mixed feelings. Maybe you're not satisfied, thinking, wait a minute, it shouldn't end that way. Or maybe you're surprised, whoa, I didn't see that one coming. But there's a conclusion. And again, I don't know about you, but in the past, I think I tended to believe there's supposed to be a conclusion to seeking the mystery of life. I think it's what I had referred to as enlightenment. But there, you get there and you go, okay, that's enlightenment. Now what? There's a Zen koan that many of you probably know. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. What the hell does that mean? Even that is a mystery. And actually, that's meant to be a mystery. But I wonder, is there really a conclusion to the mystery of life? And do you really want the mystery to end? So let me just drop that one on you and go on with what I originally meant to talk about. So, how many of you have ever done some kind of a nutritional fast? A lot of us did apple fast. You eat only apples for 3 days, and then you drink olive oil. And you know what happens then. Yeah, that's right. The point of that fast is to get rid of all kinds of crap you've been carrying. Or like some other nutritional fast, to some extent, the idea of these fasts is you remove certain things that you've had the habit of ingesting in order to let your body balance naturally, get back to your natural state, whatever's natural for your body. And then you start reintroducing foods to observe the effect on your natural system. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about nutritional fasting. I would like to share with you some of my own recent experience of fasting, what I refer to as spiritual teachings fasting. Now, look, anybody who knows me knows I have been a spiritual teachings junkie. I began what I considered spiritual teachings when I was a teenager, and I could run down a long list of teachers and teachings I was into before I met Paul in the fellowship, all kinds of meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, read biography of a yogi by Yogananda, studied Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Sufism, other isms, the Western mystical Christian philokalia. Yeah, I read that. Palmistry, astrology, numerology, other ologies. And then I came to the fellowship and started working with Paul. And of course, studied like consciousness techniques and memory training techniques and full-time thinking techniques and healing techniques and A Course in Miracles and Kabbalah and more. Taoism, Buddhism, Shintoism, Hinduism, and other isms. The Egyptian Hermetic teachings and Tarot. Comparative history of the various different Greek philosophers. The history of Christianity through the Reformation. Rosicrucians, Freemasonry, Order of the Golden Dawn, Western mystical occultism with Steiner and Blavatsky and Dion Fortune. Manly Palmer Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Yeah, I got that book right back there. And I focus especially with Carl Jung's psychological connection with Grail mythology. And of course, for anyone who knows me, I Ching, Tai Chi, and the Art of War. Yeah. And we even studied the connection between Christianity and voodoo. And that's besides all the stuff Paul had me do, in addition to what the rest of the group was studying. All that's part of what we refer to as drinking from the fire hose. You know, with all that information ingesting into my mind, at some point, you expect I would have indigestion. But I love studying all these teachings, and I figured this would be my thing, you know, what I could be good at, my way of searching for universal truth and showing people how smart and how deep I am. See, I never thought I was quite smart enough, quite knowledgeable enough, not deep enough, not talented enough about anything, just not enough. And Paul actually agreed with me about that. He actually spoke about that when he was recommending me for ordination as a minister, some recommendation. So maybe I could find the key to being enough of something by studying these teachings that are supposed to reveal the mysteries of life. Maybe if I studied them enough, these teachings could somehow become my thing, the thing I was known for. Of course, I look back and I realize I was trying to become known for something, not necessarily really understand these teachings. You know what Paul told me about this? He said, nah, this is not your thing. He didn't tell me what was my thing. Well, whatever was supposed to be my thing was certainly a mystery to me. So I thought, okay, maybe studying all these things in order to find universal truth is not my thing. All right. But maybe if I just focus on I Ching, maybe I Ching is my thing. So I read everything I could get my hands on, limited, of course, by what's translated into English. Back in the day, before the internet, I read them over and over again. I took notes. I tried to teach others what I was learning. And at one point, I remember reading that the ancient ones, whoever they were, noticed these principles by observing the cycles of nature, the cycles of life, natural life in everything, including human life. And that's how they developed the system of I Ching. You know, I'm a slow learner. I was only getting so much out of reading the books over and over again. So I figured I'll study I Ching by observing life around me. You know, if they did it, maybe I can do it too. How's that for being egotistical? So Paul had me create a habit of choosing one I Ching trigram per day to focus on and look for reflections of that principle in everything, in nature, in the weather, in the cycles of the seasons, in the growth of plants, in people, in my thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Just observe everything. Don't judge. I did this every day, and I made notes. It became a habit until basically I was always looking 24/7. That's the way I was thinking about everything. About a year later, I had a dream. There were no words in the dream. It was a lucid dream. And I was aware I was dreaming, and it was real. Didn't feel like a dream. And not only were there no words, it's even difficult to explain the dream in words. Each trigram just kind of revealed itself, not like flashing, revealing, more like I just became aware of each one at a time in its primal state. It was just there. It was incredibly overwhelming, and yet at the same time simple, you know, like, oh, that's what it is. And from that moment, I felt like I knew them. I didn't know everything about them. There is no knowing everything about them. It was more like I knew I would be able to continue knowing and learning them just by observing life around me, because they're just there always if I'm observant. Many years later, I had opportunity to meet a gentleman visiting the US from a university in China who considered himself an expert on I Ching. Rob sold him on this idea that I was knowledgeable about I Ching, which I tried to refute, but he set us up to sit down and talk. And at one point, I tried to explain how I had studied and why I did that and the experience I had with the dream. And you know what he told me? He said, the only way to truly learn I Ching is to read what the ancient masters have written and try to understand it. If they didn't write it, it's not the truth. I remember sitting there watching him explain this to me. And in that moment, I saw the path I would have gone down by trying to specialize in all of these different systems and teachings and techniques and try to push that knowledge into my head, tie my identity to that knowledge. Some of you may remember me sharing at the Fellowship Center years ago when I talked about how I came to work with Paul Solomon. Of course, Paul was obviously knowledgeable about many teachings and systems of knowledge and brilliant at describing what he understood in a way that could make sense to the rest of us. But I took the opportunity to work with him and live with him because I wanted to know, what does this guy do when he's not on stage telling stories and explaining the Bible and the Chaldean mysteries and the Grail mysteries or whatever mysteries? I figured I would get the real inside knowledge. I thought I would hear him talking about the real deeper mysteries that he didn't share with the crowds. You know, when he wasn't on stage teaching, he was not talking about those things. Never. He didn't talk much at all. He read. He cooked. He ate. Played cards. Told jokes. Paul knew more Jesus jokes than anybody I've ever met. More dirty jokes, too. And any of you remember what he said was the one central thing, the one key thing to understanding all the mystery teachings, what they were all about? Character development. He told me most of us were not willing enough to do the hard work of character development, so he needed to be good at describing stories of the mysteries in an entertaining way in order to get our attention. Yeah, that's what he told me. All right, okay, so now I know the key to the mysteries, character building. I thought, okay, well, the key to character building is going to be to find the right set of character qualities to be. I figured once I really learned those key character qualities, I could, I don't know, like be them somehow. That's why you study all the mystery teachings, to find that information. If you read all the mystery teachings and you find the key ones that were in all of them, that's got to be it. That's what enlightenment is supposed to be. I tried that for a long time. And somewhere along the line, it occurred to me that whatever really is the key to character building was something else I just couldn't grasp. See, I thought that Paul meant that by studying the mystery teachings, you would develop character. Didn't occur to me then he meant that by developing character, you would finally understand the mystery teachings. But I didn't get this by reading a mystery teaching. I got it from observing Myrrh. So for those of you who don't know, Myrrh is my wife. Now, what I started to get this this is before we were married, before I even considered being together with Myrrh as a partner. And at first it was confusing. Why do I get this feeling from being around Myrrh? And what is this feeling anyway? And she's going to kill me for this. Okay, sure, she's knowledgeable about some things, but not everything. Sure, she's talented in some things, but not everything. I couldn't put my finger on what it was that made me just want to be around her. I noticed that everyone liked being around her. And at one point, it occurred to me, when I'm around Myrrh, I want to be a better man. All the mystery teachings told me I should be a better man, but Myrrh made me really want to be one. Why? Well, that was a real mystery. Why do I feel that way around Myrrh? And what is the key to being that better man? I think that was what all the character building was supposed to be about, just being a better man. And something about her made me want that. That's my mystery. What's yours? What makes you truly want to be a better person? Now, I figure, I hear myself saying that, and I figure at some point, some of you might be thinking, oh, the answer to my mystery question, why, with Myrrh, is love. Well, I'm sorry, that's just a little too simple. What is that really? And what really is more mysterious than love? You see this library behind me? I've read many of these books. I've written some of them. I've taught about what I've read in many of them. But these days, instead of trying to find the truth in all these books, here's what I've been doing lately. And I find it stirring up a lot of stuff, while at the same time clearing away a lot of clutter. I'm fasting from spiritual teachings. Strange thing for someone who gorged on so many different philosophical and religious and psychological and spiritual teachings. I find it to be both refreshing and frightening at the same time. Kind of leaves me alone with my own thoughts. That's what's frightening. I'm no longer asking, what would the I Ching say about that? What about my astrology today? Let me practice a meditation technique and get a message from, wherever messages come from. Instead, I'm asking, what do you think? What will you do in this situation that will make you a better man? I recently had another dream that stood out. In the dream, Paul expelled me from the fellowship, kicked me out. The word used in the dream was disavowed. In spy lingo, that means we don't even know him. People in the dream tried to tell him, oh, don't do that, Stephen. But Paul just hugged me and said, let's just see what Stephen does with all the things I've taught him. And in the dream, I thought, wow, I truly am alone now. It's up to me to decide what I will do and who I will be. And at that moment, I became lucid in the dream, and I realized that comment of Paul's is what the dream is all about. What will I do? And who will I be with all I've been taught? It's up to me. Now, look, I'm familiar with the idea that we need to ask a higher power, tune into our higher self for guidance, let those higher powers guide our behaviors and actions. It's the whole purpose of religion. It's the concept of We may be driven by our fears, but we aspire to our ideals. It's what Jung taught about archetypes. It's what the Greek gods represented, the highest potentials and the lowest fears. Don't get me started. I could go down the list of the many traditions that teach this basic principle, but instead, I'm going to name drop here and do exactly what I'm telling you not to do. Paraphrasing Paul Solomon. You know, he always encouraged people to reach out to a higher power, but he also said, take full responsibility for whatever you do with whatever that message is that you get. Some of you remember he would say, God told you to do a lot of things you didn't do, so don't blame him for the choices that you do make. In the end, it comes down to you and what you choose to do. I recognize I'm fortunate and blessed to have been introduced to so much knowledge, so many techniques, to have guidance from people like Paul, who understood these things better than I did, understood me better than I understood myself. All that information still bouncing around in the back of my mind somewhere. And it surfaces from time to time, I guess kind of like a burp. Maybe I get indigestion sometimes too. But this process that I'm calling fasting from spiritual teachings is helping me in a different and unexpected way. It's helping me to own myself. Funny thing is, that's the original reason I'd started studying all these teachings in the first place. As a teenager, I was trying to find myself, my true self, to be a better man. I think along the way, I kind of got lost in the teachings and the techniques. What's the I Ching say about me? What's this dream say about me? What's this message in a meditation say about me? Like I said, instead, these days, I'm asking, what do I say? What will I do? Who will I be? I know Paul tried to get me to do this decades ago. I wasn't ready then. And, it's still kind of scary. And I'm going to add something in here that I had not originally expected to share when I first outlined these thoughts. Hope I can get through this. I'll do another reference, though. In 1785, I think it was, Robert Burns wrote in his poem, "The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry." In other words, no matter how much you think you know, no matter how much you have studied and learned, no matter how much you think you've figured it out, life throws something at you that is unexpected and throws your life awry. So, in December of 2022, we knew my friend and business partner, Rob Pennington, was dying. Rob knew it, and I knew it. Mur knew it. I knew it. We all knew it. We'd worked all year to get the plan together for me to work, to transition our business, to work as his executor, to manage his estate, to help his family and friends through the logistical and emotional process. I knew what was coming. I was the one who would have his act together while everyone else was reeling from the unexpected. I knew what I had to do to be the better man. And then, while I was literally in my car delivering his weekly bone broth, I was rear-ended on the highway and I got a concussion. At that moment, all my plans to be the one who had his proverbial act together went right out the car window. My brain was damaged. Just happened. There's a long story to that, but if it's easier to think about it this way, God hit me upside the head and stopped me in my tracks. Now, after that, I still tried to take care of Rob and his mother, but I wasn't really thinking straight all the time. I tried to stay overnight with him a few times while he was like in the emergency room and in the hospital a couple times, 24/7, even longer. He kept telling the nurses I had a concussion. which freaked them out. So I saw this look that they would give me. Wait a minute, we're leaving this guy who's dying in the care of somebody with an undiagnosed brain damage. This isn't right. One night, I literally lost my balance and fell backwards down the stairs, which did stop me in my tracks to get me to see I really just wasn't capable of doing all I hoped I could do at this critical moment. I had to let go and figure out how to let other people take on many of the things I had thought would make me the valuable person, what I had thought would make me the better man at this point in Rob's life and my life. For me, I'm finding this to be the most challenging mystery, more than any of these mystery teachings that I've read in these books. At every moment, life throws some situation at me, and I've got to figure out all over again, how can I be the better man in responding to this? No matter how much I learn, at every moment, that question will be a mystery for me to work out. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Who knows? It's a mystery. So, what's your mystery? You know, to some groups, I would probably be encouraging, you need to get away from the routine of your work, your daily life, go off on a spiritual retreat, refresh your spirit, read the Bible, read the Quran, study the Buddhist Eightfold Path, whatever system is inspiring for you. With this group, maybe just the opposite might be useful to try. And I'm not saying you should disavow knowledge and study and practice of spiritual teachings. They'll still be there, bouncing around in the back of your mind. But maybe from time to time, maybe take a break for a little while. Fast from consuming so much. You might be surprised to find out who you are. I get surprised every day, and it's a real mystery to me.